Welcome back, my nomads. Welcome back to another Nomader critique, let's say. And I'm here to you today to critique, if you would say, a show that I just finished. It's called Carnival Row. Carnival Row on Amazon Prime Video, because I really dug it. And I just wanted to go over some things. First of all, people have been saying that Amazon has a lot of good shows that no one's talking about or no one's watching. So, oddly enough, I decided to dive in with this show, Carnival Row. Carnival Row is like a horror Victorian monster murder mystery show, I want to say, starring Orlando Bloom and Cara Delevingne in the two titular roles. Now, I guess I should give you a synopsis. But really, I just want to get into it. So let me get into it. So, Carnival Row, it has a bunch of. It's basically like a fantasy creature world, but it's set in like a old Victorian world. So basically fantasy creatures mixed in with like an old period piece, and I like the take that they have on this because it's a more realistic take. And it's like what if fairies, centaurs, satyrs, what if all these creatures lived in a realistic world, so to speak. Basically, if Christopher Nolan was asked to make a fantasy murder mystery show, basically a more realistic approach. And I really dug the show. It was real dope. And some of the things I wanted to highlight on. First of all, the show itself. It's visually stunning. The backdrop, the costumes, the aesthetic of the world, it's really cool. I really dug it. And visually, it's just so appealing to the eye. Even the color palette, everything. It's kind of because it's not a very happy show. The color palette's pretty desaturated, but it's very visually stunning, the way it looks and the shots and the city. It makes it feel very real. It feels like each race, the centaurs, the pixies, the humans, it feels like you can really see that they have a history behind them and a lot of lore. I think that's what sets apart really good fantasies from the kind of hokey ones. I feel like Tolkien is the penultimate because he kind of did it like a history piece, with his creatures and his story. And of course he was a linguist, so that really helped, because language is basically like the structure of humanity, basically. But yeah, it's very visually stunning. Even the CGI, obviously with a show about fantasy creatures, you're going to have a lot of CGI, especially when one of your main characters is a fairy who flies around and stuff. And for the most part, there's times where it doesn't look the best, but for the most part, I would say 7 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, the CGI is on point. It looks amazing. It looks great. And they really did. I'm sorry, I just had a flash of the werewolves in the show. They're okay, but everything else, the CGI is really, really good. All right. The main character is his name is Philo. Rycroft Philostrate is actually his full name, but Orlando Bloom plays his character whose nickname is Philo, and he's in love with Cara Delevingne's character, who's a fairy. And I guess to make a long story short, there was a war in her home country, and he came over, and he was a soldier. They fell in love during the war, and then he broke out, but she thought he died. Spoiler alert, this is going to be a big spoiler thing. She thought he died. He didn't die, and she finds out when she comes over to his country. Now his country is primarily human. Well, yeah, majority human, I would say, and obviously there's some issues there, so to speak. So that's a good way to talk about how the show deals with classism and more specifically racism. I thought it was clever how they worked that in, specifically with there's a side story with a character, and I can't remember his name, but I do remember the actor's name, David Ghiazi. Great actor. I've seen him in a bunch of TV shows, and he plays a satyr, the type of creature that you would see in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Mr. Tumnus, he was that creature, a satyr with the horns and the hooves for feet. And so obviously humans are like the majority, so they have most of the power. So they're the ones who are racist to all these other fantasy creatures. They call them Critch, and they specifically call his race, David Ghiazi's character's race, Pucks. And so I like his sub-story because it shows the classism and racism that goes on. And he's a Puck who actually has money and comes to a rich neighborhood, and everybody's looking out the window. Who's moving in next door? Who's moving in next door? And when they find out it's a Puck, and when they find out it's a Puck, they just don't accept this guy. They don't. And I thought it was clever that they casted a black man, a black actor, to play this character. I thought that was kind of clever. Especially, I won't get into his background, but especially when you find out one of the ways how he made his money is very controversial, and they reveal it. They reveal how he did that after you get to know his character a little bit, and you kind of start to like his character. Then, as an audience member, I felt conflicted because I was like, "Oh, that's one of the ways he made his money." Ooh, and you could tell from his character that he's been through a lot. He's had to fight for so much to get to this status and get all this money, where he has humans working for him as his servants in his house. And so I thought that that side story with him and the woman that is interplaying with him and causing him friction. She doesn't want him in the neighborhood, who's played by Tamsin Merchant, who's a white woman. I thought it was clever how they interplayed that and how they did that with that character. But yeah, so the show deals with a lot of classism and racism. Philo. So basically, back to my last point. So Vignette, Cara Delevingne's character, comes and finds out that Philo is alive. She comes to his land, and she has to figure out a way to make it in that land because she was forced out of her own country, and she hasn't seen Philo for years. She thought he was dead. And now their love story, it's kind of interesting, but what definitely interested me even more was Philo's character. Philo's character, there's some things that are revealed about him that are wow. And there's a specific episode that really draws my attention, that really got to me, because his character was revealed to find out something about himself that he didn't even remember. And the way they do it with the music and the visuals, that episode, it was, man, they get you right here. And man, it's crazy with the music, and it's haunting. Like, it's very haunting how he finds out these things about himself, and it's like some layers, he had blockage in his mind, so he would forget some things, and then slowly in the episode you see it getting peeled away, and he's remembering things, and it's so haunting and so heartbreaking how he finds out these things. And I was sold 100% on the show after that. Like, it was very gut-wrenching to say. So Carnival Row, I think it's a very good watch. Full disclosure, the show is definitely not for children. Definitely not for children. I would say it's fantasy for adults with dealing with real issues, dealing with real adult issues. But it's a really good show. Just be mindful. There's some things in there you wouldn't want your kids to see, basically. And so I would definitely give the show a try. It reminded me of a show called Penny Dreadful that I tried before, and I think I saw the first full season of Penny Dreadful. But I mean, I like dark things, but in the second season, Penny Dreadful just got a little too dark for me, So I had to stop. Maybe I'll get back to it. Maybe I'll try it again. But I definitely enjoyed Carnival Row. I would just say there's a lot of things going on story-wise, a lot of subplots that are going on in the show. Some of them I didn't care for. It seems like the show was doing a lot for it to not know if there was going to be a second season. There is going to be a second season. I can't wait for that because I feel like some of the subplots were just building up to something greater that's going to happen later in the life of the show. But I feel like it was doing a lot in that one season of 8 episodes. But I would definitely check it out, my Nomads. It was a great watch. I definitely would watch it again, but I got a whole laundry list of shows I gotta watch. And so check it out. Carnival Row on Amazon Prime. Peace. Be creative, my Nomads.